Good evening, folks. I am out tonight imaging Jupiter and Saturn, and did take a quick look at our moon. Our nightlight's still up there, and that's a good thing. So let's go to our screen share, and let's suppose we get there this way. One thing is I've fallen out of the frame, so here we go. And we are, I'm currently taking, I think it's 10 files. They are, altogether, these files are around 10,000 frames, in that neighborhood, and they're 3-minute long. So I'm taking at roughly 51 frames per second. I'm taking as many files as I can, and I'm capturing about somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 frames. So I'm going to have 10 files, 10 AVI files, each of them around 10,000 frames. And they're 3-minute long. And the reason why they're 3 minutes long is to manage the rotation of Jupiter. Anything longer than that would be tough to do. Hello, Xavier. Good to see you out there. And welcome to the broadcast. It's you and me, Xavier. And I'm glad you're here. Let's see what else is going on. I did head over and do a couple of images of Saturn. And once these are complete, I'm going to go back to Saturn. And that's the planet everybody likes to see. And then we'll call it a night. But Jupiter's sitting pretty still, so the scene's okay. The great red spot is not in view, and it will be in view tomorrow night, Friday night, if provided that we have clear skies. We just haven't had any. Hurricane Fred came through our neck of the woods this week and left a few trees down, and they also dropped a lot of water, and we could use the water, so I'm not complaining. But we haven't had clear skies for, I think I saw where the last time I imaged was on the 8th, so that's been 10 days ago. But Saturn's looking pretty good up there right now, and so hopefully I'll be able to take those 10 frames, or those 10 files, AVA files. I will stack them, and in AutoStacker, we'll eliminate, or I will reject a certain percentage of them based on what the quality graph indicates. And then I'll take them into Registacks, and I'll apply some wavelets and a few other tweaks in Registacks. RGB color balance. I'll do a histogram stretch, and I'll run over to the gamma, and I'll do a S curve for some contrast, and then we'll park that for WinJupos, and that'll be a TIFF file then, and then we'll have 10 TIFF files that I can run through WinJupos. I'm going to blink them to see how aligned they are. I may go ahead and align them in PIP and then run through WinJPOS, but I don't think I'll have to. Um, with the exception of a few quirky jumps, and I think that's mount and gear related. Jupiter's staying pretty much in the crosshairs without me having to make any mount moves with the virtual hand controller. This is the hand controller I would be using, and it has a lot of information. You can see right here, I'm using the lunar rate. It really doesn't make any difference. This is the sidereal rate and the solar rate. The solar rate probably would be a little bit closer to the lunar rate, but I'm using the lunar rate, and it's not drifting. It's staying pretty much in the crosshairs. And this is the Alt-Az position and the RA and DEC currently of Jupiter, which changes throughout the night. Altitude, it's at 28 degrees, so it's really very low in the sky. And so when that happens, the telescopes are shooting through a lot more atmospheric issues than when they're shooting towards the zenith. And that's probably pretty good what we're getting right now, considering that we're that low in the sky and I'm shooting over a lot of atmosphere from the heat of the day bouncing off of rooftops and roads. And of course you've got some light pollution. Okay, we are continuing our capture, and let's see how many of these frames that we have already. And I'll boot up. We'll go down here to the E drive. And to 818 and to Jupiter, and right now it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 with 1 in the making, 7. So after this one finishes, and it's about a third of the way through, this is the progress graph for this one. So we have 3.5 left to do, and then we'll go visit Saturn. We'll slew over there and see what's happening. Start taking a series of Saturn, just like we're doing this, and that's pretty cool. I am not a good planetary imager and or processor. I fumble around with it, and I use essentially 4 pieces of software, all of which are free. I use IMPPG, more especially with the sun. I use PIPP for a lot of things, powerful software. I use Registax and for their wavelets, and I use AutoStacker. Emil Kreykamp has brilliant software, and a new version of AutoStacker is going to be released in the coming months with a lot of new tweaks to it. That's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. I do like deep space imaging though, and normally on a night where I have some clear skies, I'll run 2 telescope systems, and I'll show you right now. Let's open up my outside camera, and this surveillance camera is shining on my telescopes, and it's this camera and telescope kit right here that's currently imaging Jupiter. This is a wide field setup with the same mount and same pier, but I'm using a Stellarvue SV70T at 330 millimeters and a 1600 mmC camera. It's a cooler camera, but it's a mono camera, and this one is covered with this is a solar telescope arrangement. There's two telescopes riding on top of each other, and they're both solar scopes. And tomorrow morning I'm going to be imaging the sun. Got some pretty interesting proms. Not a lot of surface activity, but the proms are huge, and I'm interested in seeing if I can get some swirls and some magnetic looping going on. So I plan to do a time lapse. Again, clouds will determine that. And if they leave me alone, that's exactly what we'll be doing. Let's go back to our software, SharpCap, and we'll. I did image Saturn earlier. Let's see. Right now we have 7. This is the 8th one. It's in process. So we have, it's about halfway done. So we have 2.5 more to go. And they're each 3 minutes long. So we have 7 more minutes before we're done here. And that will be at roughly at 11:10 Eastern Standard Time. We should be done. I was going to show you though. I've already done a Saturn somewhere in here. I think here. I don't think it's been processed. Let's go ahead and process it. And while we're waiting, let's see if I can find. I'm used to Macs, not well, where does it say open with? I don't guess it will. We'll just go to Registacks. Oh, here's one of the Saturns I did, and tonight, and it's awful. It's terrible. I'm out of focused, and the atmospheric dispersion filter. Somehow or another, I must have been fiddling with the whole thing since the last time I used it. I sure don't remember doing it, but it was way off, so I had to spend a few minutes and readjust that. But I didn't know it was way off, and I took a series of Saturn pictures, and they're all going to be the same. So let's take this one for example. I don't want to stretch it. And first thing I want to do is take RGB over here, RGB balance, and I'm going to run auto balance, and that'll kind of bring out the colors. Already can see the nasty looking blue. That's okay, and we don't need that any longer. I'll go up to gamma. I'll run a curve, slight S curve for some contrast, and then I'll go to the histogram, stretch it just a little bit. Alright, And then the last thing is I'm going to flip it because I don't like its orientation. And let's bring it over. Yeah, the can sleep now. Let's bring it to about right there. Just a little more. Okay. And then let's go load. I've got an aggressive scheme. And so there's another one, but that's just terrible. We got a looks like a clown version of Saturn, but at any rate, I had the gamma turned up almost to 500. I mean the gain. I was trying to get a about 80 to 90 frames per second in, and so it's noisy. It's poor. Anyway, they're fun working with, experimenting. So we're back looking at a live view of Jupiter. I have been taking a series of Jupiter shots, and they are here. We are at 7, 8. So we're at 8. Wow, we just finished 9. So we have 9 and one more, and then we're done with these, and then we'll head over to that should be at 9:10. That'd be about right. 3 minutes from now, and we'll run over to Saturn. And because we will be going over to Saturn, I'll bring up my surveillance camera. Wrong. My surveillance camera. And we'll log on. This thing is set to timeout so that it doesn't, there's a bat, so that it doesn't inadvertently stay up all night. I see all kinds of varmints in my backyard. We have quite a population of bats flying around. By the way, this is not light. This is IR light. This is infrared light that is lighting up my backyard. But I'll see the rabbits come out and hop around, and we've had all kinds of things over the last several years. Okay, let's head back to Jupiter. We're halfway, a little over halfway through our, we got 1 minute and 17 seconds left. I'm down here at the bottom right on the progress bar of our last of 10 AVI files. These are movie files, and each movie has 10,000 roughly frames. Already down here we've captured 6,000 frames in 2 minutes. So we'll add another 3, and it'll be right at 10,000. We're taking 50, a little bit over 50 frames per second, which I wish it was faster, but I've got the gain up to 223, and I really don't like to push it much further than that. A friend of mine in our astronomy organization, Roper Mountain Astronomy, he doesn't mind pushing the gain all the way to the limit. He's right in that the noise is pretty much eliminated when you start processing these images, but you still have some, and it does get in the way of the clarity of your images. So uh-oh, we're capturing where let me check my let me make sure. I think if we're going on our 11th frame, We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did I pick 12 frames? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop it. We're going to go to Saturn. We'll stop this capture, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go down here to PhD, my guiding software. I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to clear this up, clear this out. Going to go back to we're going to go to my planetarium software, and you can see where we're on Jupiter right here. There's the moon, and here's Saturn. We're going to click on Saturn and slew to it, and we'll go out and see the mount do this. And the mount is headed over there, and it should be there. I use PhD and the guide camera kind of as a finder scope, and for there's Saturn, but it's not where I want it to be, so I'm going to put it in the lower right hand quadrant. Wrong way. There we go. Now it's come up east a little bit, just a little bit. I meant south. I don't need you anymore. Wrong way. All right, let's go over to our shortcut. Let's get a larger view here. Come on, shortcut. Oh, we're still capturing. I thought I stopped that. Well, it's about finished, so we're gonna cancel. And all right, now we're going to get a larger view. I'm going to need to raise my gain now. There's Saturn. Gosh, I hate going that high. So let's don't. Let's go back down to 235, and let's just raise our exposure up to there. Okay, now we're going to take, we need to center this again, so let's get back with our hand controller, and I think we got to go west, and we got to go south, no, north. All right, and let's go ahead and activate. Okay, get rid of that, and we don't need our hand controller. Let's get a smaller window. Let's go 488 by 488. Let's center things. I might brighten it up just a tad. And then we're going to drop this down right there. And we're now at 30 frames per second. And now we're at 27. Let's go, let's add the start capture. Oh, the sequence I was doing was 15 frames. That's why it continued to take them. Let's go ahead and do 15 frames, 3 minutes long, and let's let it rip. I also took, well, let's go process a Jupiter that I just took. Let's open up. Here's a let's go to Jupiter. Let's just pick the first one. And auto stack it may have frozen on me. It has. Oh, there we go. We can clear that out. Let's analyze. I keep planet check, dynamic background. I check Laplace. I keep local. I don't change the noise robust. It stays at 5, which is the default. I am not double stacking, but I have. I'm going to keep auto size checked, and I'm going to analyze. It's going to create a quality graph. It's going to take a few minutes because it's analyzing roughly 10,000 frames. It's going through them, and it's deciding which frames are worth editing and which aren't. And I'm going to keep, in a few seconds, you're going to see a quality graph right here. And it's going to be, it's not a linear curve, it's going to be a curve that's going to represent, here we go, it's going to represent the quality of the frames taken, and it varies from really very high to over here very low. And if you click there, it will take you to, let's get rid of this, let me get rid of this thing here. If you click on one of those, it will take you to that frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of scrub through this, and I'm going to look for some sharper. I'm going to actually use my arrow key. And I think I'll start there. It looks okay. Let's analyze that. Let's analyze that. Let me run that. Right now it looks like roughly half. This is 50% of the way through the video. This is halfway through the video. And about half of the files are above this 50% quality line, and half are below. So about half of them are worth a flip, and half of them aren't. Now, at the 50% line isn't necessarily good. You can just pick the ones above, let's say the top 25%, we'll just pick the ones that are up here above this line, so you'll get the best of the best. I tell you what, let's do, let's us pick, since the graph looks about the same, let's us pick the top 30%, and let's go down here and place, automatically place a grid. That's fine, I'll deal with it. Okay, I'm not going to drizzle. And this is everything I'm going to click, and so let's stack it. Saturn is moving right along over here. We're taking 15 probably 5,000 AVI files. If we were getting 10,000 at 51 frames, we're going to get around 4,000 to 5,000 in 3 minutes at 24 frames per second, so about half. And that's the nature of the beast. And they're going to be noisier because I've got the gain up to 300, whereas on Jupiter I had the gain in the 200, 10 or 20, I forgot what it was. So we're going to shortly say goodnight to this live imaging session, but I want to see what we have with Jupiter. We'll process this real quick. Now, keep in mind that Jupiter is as all the planets rotate, Jupiter has a pretty quick rate of rotation, and if your video is longer than 3 minutes, blur that's created by the rotation is pretty hard to process. So you're going to have a difficult time, and you're pushing it at 3 minutes. But I'll give it a go. But I'll take each of those frames that I took. I think I've got 10, and then I hit the brakes. But I'll take each of those 10 frames and run it through all of this software, and then I'll use WinJuPost to derotate the frames into one image and stack them into one image. And that should give us 10 pictures with the top, say, 50% of the pictures, and all derotated for clarity. That should give us a pretty good view of image of Jupiter, considering this the scene conditions are going along pretty good. Okay, we are almost finished with stacking, and once you've got that done, it goes pretty quick. We're doing two things at one time. If you're just joining us, we're imaging Saturn, and we're also processing one of the Jupiters that we took earlier. We just started imaging Saturn, and we're clicking along at 24 frames per second, which is not as fast as I wish. I'm using an ASI 224 camera on an 8-inch edge with a 2.5 times power mate by Teleview. I have a ZWO atmospheric dispersion filter, and that's the optical train. Okay, we finished that, so we can minimize auto stacker, bring up Registacks, and let's go find that file. And we want to go up a tier to Jupiter, and there she blows. No stretch. Okay, I think the first thing I want to do is to color balance it. I don't know what's happened to my window. It got crazy. Okay, so we have, that looks reasonably close. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to, let's go on over to Gamma and do an S-curve. And I want to bring it up a little bit. And I like that. do a little stretch. Not a big one, but let's move our slider over. Let me grab it here. There we go. About there, and let's stretch it. Brighten it up a little bit. And I don't like the way it is oriented. So let's go. There we go. Just a tad bit more on its axis. A little bit more. Okay. And now let's load a scheme for, I'll use, alrighty. That's way too radical. Let's bring some of those wavelets down. I seem to always end up with registacks having sliders that kind of look like an arrowhead. It's kind of a V shape, and I am let's see if we can. I'm not liking it though, but part of it has to do with some of the rotation, and what we want to do is drop the sharpness down a little. And I don't know. I'll work on that later, but I don't want to save this. I typically don't process any of my images in the laptops that I use outside. I bring them into the desktop where I have a lot of different schemes saved. But when I'm playing around with these laptops that are outside with the kits, I often find myself, just because I'm bored between these long imaging sessions, going ahead and jumping there and starting to process some of this stuff, which is what I'm doing. We're still zeroed in on Saturn, and we're somewhere in the neighborhood of a third of the way through. I don't know how many we've taken so far, but I named it, I forgot to change the name. So here are the Saturn. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on our 5th one, and I'm going to take 10. And that's what we will be doing. So, guys, we're, unless you had absolutely nothing else to do and wanted to sit here and watch this Saturn as it kind of holds its own in the sky while I image it, because this is a live view of it, I'm going to turn you loose and send you on your way. If you stopped by and saw this live session of Saturn and Jupiter, I'm just glad to have you. If you come back later and see the recorded view, I'm glad you did. And if you can consider either liking and or subscribing, I would appreciate it. It does tell me that you're interested in seeing more of these things, and that's what kind of inspires me to start streaming. But at any rate, consider subscribing, and of course, if you don't mind, click on like, and I would appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good night, and We'll see you back here for some more imaging or processing or reviewing equipment or both.